So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Xavier Mesrobian. I'm French, and I'm in charge of marketing for Zentiva. So I'm also a pharmacist. I graduated in the University of Lyon, France, and then I joined Sanofi. First I did some health economics work in the US. Then I joined Sanofi, and I was invited to join this fantastic story of Zentiva, which I think, if my few Czech words are right, was explained by Mirek. I'm not so sure, but I'm sure you did. Thank you. So today I wanted to talk to you about the generic market, what we call the generic market, and how the generics are important for the healthcare systems throughout Europe. I will focus the presentation on Europe. And why these products are so special for the governments, for the patients, and for the pharmacists and the physicians as well. So that's my first point in this presentation. Then I wanted to show that those are not only words, they are a true business opportunity, and I know that probably in the Czech Republic, as in other countries, the pharma industry doesn't benefit from a very good image, and for some good reasons sometimes. But here, when you're in the generic business, it's a very nice place to be, because basically you're truly helping the healthcare systems, providing more care at an affordable cost. And then also, because we're here, not so far from Prague, and certainly in the heart of the Czech Republic, I wanted to come back a bit on the history of Zentiva and tell you what it means today when we're talking about Zentiva. So, if you're looking at a very broad view of how the world is doing well. The world is developing. We are more and more people living on this planet, maybe on others as well, I don't know. What is sure is that the population is growing and the population is aging. When you look at the different trends in the different parts of the world, you can see that in Africa, for example, we have a very rapidly growing population. In countries that are more developed than African countries, and I'm thinking about Southeast Asia, I'm thinking about Brazil, we see that the population is no more growing, but the people, one of the first things, once you have achieved a certain level of comfort, the first thing you want is an ability to afford healthcare. This is essential. So these people are more and more demanding healthcare. They want to have treatments, they want to have hospitals, and they want to have medication. Then, if you're looking at Europe, in Europe the population is no more growing, that's done, but what is sure is that we're getting old. And when you're getting old, what happens? You develop hypertension, you develop diabetes, you develop cancer, and of course, we need to make sure that we can accommodate as citizens this demand, and generics do play a big part in this story. There's a study that was done for the Generics Association in Europe. It was done by a Belgian university in Leuven. His name is Steven Simons. It was published in 2005. And you look at that and you understand why the generics are so important for the healthcare systems. This is what happens if you increase the current market share of generics in each of the segments. Overall, what you can see is today we're spending 86 billion euros for a certain set of diseases that you see highlighted here. And what happens if you increase by 5, 10, and 20% the generic share of the treatments? And you see on the right the 4 billion, 8 billion, and 16 billion are figures that are potential savings if we increase the share of generics in the treatment of the patients. So, knowing the situation that we're in with the crisis, with the debt, this is a significant added value from our industry to the governments. So, these aspect of cost, it has to be mentioned, and it's very important that it also comes with an extension of the usage, because it's good to reduce the cost, but if you only treat the same number of people, you will not help the ones that cannot afford the care to be treated as well. So what is fantastic with the generic industry is that by offering a lower cost, we manage to expand the usage of the products. Meaning, for example, recently some new sartans were introduced as generics, and you can see that the amount of people taking sartans instead of older agents is increasing. As a reminder, sartans are as effective as ACE inhibitors, and they are much safer. They don't have any side effects compared to placebo. So I think this is also a very good added value in terms of the expansion of the usage of medication that we can achieve with generics. Now, when we're talking about generics, what is very interesting is that we don't define generics in the same way in one part of the world or the other. When we talk about generics here in the Czech Republic, if you've been in a pharmacy, I'm sure you know this little green bottle in the middle, Helicid. This is a generic in the Czech Republic. On the left you have Lozap from our, I think it's Russian affiliate, and this is the same thing. It has a brand name. It doesn't say Losartan, it says Lozap. It doesn't say omeprazole, it says Helicid. On the right you have the example of Tadalafil, what we call Afilta, and this is in Turkey. So in Central Eastern Europe, when we talk about generics, we talk about brands. In Western Europe, this is the picture on the left, bottom left, we talk about products that have a brand name, Zentiva in our case, and the name of the molecule and the dosage, what we call a company-branded generic. Okay? So this is another type of generic. When we're talking about the UK, the United States, when you talk about generic, you talk about a box that just says what's in it and how much of it. And that's it. No brand, no other mention of any company name, except of course the regulatory requirements that Mirek knows that are at the back, but they're very small and there's absolutely no branding. So that's three very different concepts that coexist in the world depending on the geography. Now, from a commercial standpoint, this has a huge impact for us. If you look at those three types of generics, product brand, INN, such as omeprazole Tiva, omeprazole Zentiva, or the pure INN, they are not targeted for the same customers. And what we see is that the way we do business depends on each of the country, because it depends on what the healthcare structure is and who is in charge of prescribing and giving generics to the patient. If you think of the Czech Republic, for example, the physician voice is very important. The physician will say, basically, will prescribe Helicid, and the pharmacist will primarily dispense and give to the patient Helicid. Now substitution is coming, and you see that this trend is going downwards. When we're talking about Western Europe, the way it's done is that the doctor prescribes whatever he wants. He can say Helicid, he can say Mopra. What happens is that the pharmacist is in charge of substituting this prescription to the product of his choice, meaning most of the time the one that he has in the drawers. Okay? And then, when you're talking about the pure INN market, so this is what is going on in the US, what is going on in the UK, here the game is completely different. It's a game of supply and demand, meaning the cheapest will be the one that has the market. No other consideration, no preference from the physician, no preference or availability from the pharmacist. So these are different models that we need to accommodate, and our business is about making sure that we're behaving on the market like the market is behaving, and that we're playing with the country's rule. Now, what is interesting as well is you see that there's absolutely no correlation between the healthcare spend in the different countries and these models. These models of different generic types are driven by a societal choice. Okay? So this is, I think, is very important to remember, because it means that we don't we cannot predict what will happen tomorrow. What is sure is that the models are changing throughout Europe, they are changing throughout the world, and it's very difficult for us to predict what happens. So looking at this picture basically gives you a sense of how a generic company will behave in the different countries. In the Czech Republic, for example, we still have sales force that go to doctors and inform them on the benefits of Elixir or Elides in the recent launches that we have. In France, for example, the people that work for Zentiva, they go to pharmacies and they promote a product portfolio. In the UK, basically, we're over the phone with the distributor saying, I can give you omeprazole for, I don't know, 10 quids a day. Okay, and this is the negotiation that is going on. So all of these are very different. And this is the map of Europe, just to show how it is. Basically, in blue, you have the part of Europe, and you see that it's mostly Central Eastern Europe, where the physician is in charge of prescribing the generic. In blue, you have the countries in which the pharmacist is in charge of substituting to the generics. And in green, you see that it's markets that are kind of shifting from the physician to the pharmacist standpoint. With that comes a fundamental understanding for us as a company. We need to understand what drives the business. So if I'm taking the example of France, in my country, what drives the business is the fact to have a very wide portfolio, to be close to the pharmacist and to enter into an added value offering with them, as well as making sure that we're negotiating the right for the pharmacist and for us. If we're thinking of Eastern Europe, we need to be very close to the physician, understand their needs, making sure that we address their needs and questions on our product. And I would say mostly for Russia and Ukraine, we also need to make sure that they acquire the education that's needed to go to modern medicines, because in some cases they need to recap, because they're not fresh from the university, some of them. Then in Turkey, for example, if we take the example of Turkey, which is a fantastic market, what is important is to generate the prescriptions from the physicians, and also our ability to manage the price, because in Turkey they have a very stringent pricing system. Okay, so across these markets, this is a key message for me that I wanted to give you so that you can sense a bit the way we work in this industry. There's one universal rule. If you want to be successful in the generic business, you've got to be first on the market. You have to be first on the market because you want to be able and available at day one, so that you can create an effect on the sales force, on the people that work with you and that go to the field, and saying, I'm the first one to give you this product, Mr. Doctor, Mr. Pharmacist. This is a great sense of pride, and this is very important for us to make the Zentiva people proud of belonging to this company. And also, because if you're first, you can take shelf space on the pharmacy and make sure that this product will be preferred from the others, because once you're in, basically, you know pharmacists just as much as I do. If there's one thing we can do, it's to count how many references we have and the size of our inventories. So once you have stocked one product and that it's a generic, so there's no need for the other products. So this is why it's key for us to be first. And then also, if you have a lot of new products, it creates an attraction from a marketing standpoint for the rest of your portfolio, because your portfolio is dynamic. You give the sense that you will come with new products, and this is a very important factor in your decision making as a pharmacist. If you know that this company is good at giving you the new products, that's certainly an added value. So I illustrated this by showing you the development of rosuvastatin, and basically on this one I think we're not the first ones on the market, we're the number 2, and you see that the first one, that was Gedeon Richter, managed to be number 1, and you see that they managed to keep this market share in spite of a very, very strong endeavor on our side to go against them. We didn't succeed. And this is the case for all the products, okay? And I would say across the markets as well. Okay, so now those were how the business works and what is important for us. So I hope you understand we need to have a full portfolio. I hope you understand that we need to be first on the market, and this is critical. Now, if we look at the place of generics within the pharmaceutical market, I wanted to highlight one thing. This is the one most dynamic segment that exists out there. Most of the time, you're talking probably about the new monoclonal antibodies, the new biologics, and these products are great, and they are great added value for the armamentarium. In terms of business, they are extremely lucrative, and they are very good segments, but you see that they're growing at a 9% rate. Generics are growing at a 12% rate. So we're growing much faster, starting on top of that with a higher base. So this is a very, very good business to play in. What is important as well, and I think you need to measure the added value of this, when we're talking about generics, we're talking about volumes. If you look at the share of generics in the volume market, meaning how many boxes, generics represent 35% of the volumes, meaning of the boxes that you give out as a pharmacist. And this is great because it means that if you have a 35% volume market share, it means you can have factories, it means you can have workers working for your company, and all of this is good for all the countries. So I think this is also an added value of the generic industry. We're not talking about putting one product on the market and having it carrying a very high price. We're talking about small prices and big volume with manufacturing as a key success factor in this business. So now a bit more about Zentiva, because now you have a sense of the dynamism of the market. Zentiva has managed to become the #3 company in Europe, plus Russia, plus Turkey, over the last years, which is a fantastic achievement. And you can see that Zentiva in the top 5, so meaning in the big companies, is still the fastest growing. So for us, this means that we've been able to launch products, and of course Mirek has a very important share in this success, and we've been able to decline our business model to the specifics of each of the markets we're playing in. Albeit the generic market in Europe is still fairly fragmented, as you see. It means that we have a lot of competitors in each country, which of course makes it very challenging to be successful. So Zentiva today, what is it? Zentiva is a European footprint working in 32 countries, so from Estonia and Russia in the north to Portugal in the south, Cyprus and Turkey as well. I don't know which one is southern. And we're operating from Lisbon as well to the Far East, Russia. So we are covering a very broad scope, and we're present in almost all the markets. The ones that remains are markets in which the level of commodity, the level of local competition makes it very difficult for a foreigner to come in. And this achievement is due to the fact that we want to be driving the use of modern, affordable healthcare. Okay? And the Zentiva strategy is to expand our portfolio, so we want to go deeper in what we offer in each of the country, and we want to go bigger and expand our geographic footprint. Mirek has told you already about some endeavors in Africa and the Middle East, if I understood correctly, and this is the type of opportunities that we want to continue using. I know that Mirek told you a couple of words of Sanofi, and this is exactly the type of approach that is in line with the vision of Sanofi to be a diversified healthcare leader in the world. So this is in perfect harmony and a very good success to the group. Finally, because we're in the Czech Republic, I wanted to highlight the fact that Zentiva that used to be initially a Czech company, then Czechoslovaks, then local regional in Central Eastern Europe, has now extended to Western Europe as well, and the brand is well known in all of these countries. And I wanted to take 3 examples. One example in Portugal. This is the same thing, but it was in Portugal. And in Portugal they even did, you know, when you want to withdraw cash from an ATM machine, so from the bankomat, you had your Zentiva logo, the oyster, with the Zentiva message that was shown for 3 seconds before you can withdraw cash. So as a Czech, I don't know if you had the opportunity to go to Portugal last summer, but it's maybe something you've seen. And I think it's a subject of pride for the Czech people. I hope it is, and I'm very happy that we're participating in it. Another example from Italy, and of course I wanted to give you this one image. It's not as good, but this is the Sanofi building in Paris, and this is the building of Sanofi that is on the busiest road in France, which is the Paris Peripheric, the Miejski-Okrug equivalent. And this is and this picture with the Zentiva name, your Zentiva Czech name was put in front of this building for, I think, something like 3 months. So I think it's an outstanding achievement that Zentiva has done, and I think it's a very interesting message to leave you with. Okay, thank you very much.